our module number 4 for 4th quarter. So it's all about judging the relevance and worth of ideas, soundness of author's reasoning, and the effectiveness of the presentation. So we will start on page number 1. So our objectives are: identify the ways on how to evaluate an essay, article, and advertisements, analyze the relevance of the essay, article, and advertisements presented, and lastly, we have express opinions in clear, correct, and appropriate English. So in what I know part, in 1 to 5, you will choose from letters A to F. In each number, you will identify what is being described and ask in each. So it can be quotation, paraphrase, summary, introduction, thesis statement, or conclusion. And then for part B of what I know, you will write okay, all in uppercase if you agree to the given statement, then oops if you disagree. So you will read each statement in each number, then you will determine if you agree or not by writing okay or oops. Then lastly, read the paragraph carefully, then answer the questions that follow. Choose the letter that corresponds to your answer. So you will read these pros and cons of technology. So after reading those paragraphs, you will also choose the letters of correct answers from A to D, based on what you have read and based on what is being asked in each number. In what's in, because our previous lesson is all about the indirect and direct speech, you will identify each line or each speech if they are direct or indirect. So we had our discussion last time, and you can go back to the video lesson about this. So for what's new, read the essay below and answer the question that follow. So it is all about Tarlac Dike by Karima Pulutan. So you will read that. After reading that, you will answer this. And it's okay if you find difficulty in answering those activities, because it's just a review, and we will compare later your progress after and before and after the discussion. So we will now have the discussion proper. So like what I had said, we have the learning competency, which is all about the judging the relevance and worth of ideas, soundness of author's reasoning, and the effectiveness of the presentation. So relevance is defined in Oxford Dictionary as the quality or state of being closely connected or appropriate. According to Robertson, 2013, relevance is the perception that something is interesting and worth knowing. Notice that it has two parts, interesting and worth knowing. So every paragraph contains sentences that are interrelated from the introduction, body, and conclusion. So to make it short, it means that when we say relevance, there should be connection between all of the ideas you have written or you have read. It should support each other. So introduction should be connected to the body, then conclusion should be connected also to the two, and each sentence in each paragraph should be connected with one another, because if you will achieve this, the relevance, you will also achieve the coherence or the cohesion. So an idea's relevance will not be sent across effectively by the author or speaker if the ideas, sentence structure, paragraph organization, coherence, and unity of thought are poorly executed. In other words, judging the relevance of worth of ideas is partly dependent on the author's soundness or speaker's reasoning. So like what I have said, you should always consider the connection of the ideas that you have read, that you have included in your text. So we have the different parts of the essay. So the first one is introduction. So in this part, we will know the three things that we must analyze critically to know the relevance of the author's ideas. So the first one, the introduction, it is the first paragraph of a composition that tells a story, provides statistics, and discusses exciting quotes that always get the reader's interest and making or her engage in reading the whole composition. So in introduction, we should identify which is the thesis statement, because it is stated it's either one or two sentences. Then it is the roadmap of the composition, because thesis statement, it is the main topic that you have to align all of the sentences from here. And when you say introduction, it is the hook. You should always grab the attention, hook their interest. Therefore, if they are hooked and interested of whatever the introduction is, you will motivate them, influence them to read until the end, until the conclusion. So the second will be the body. So the body, it proves the thesis statement. It serves as the support, because whatever you said to the introduction, you have to support it. Because if you will not support it, how will you achieve relevance and coherence? So for the text to be convincing, the evidence is needed. It supports the claims of the authors and shows the worth of his or her ideas and sound reasoning. So the evidence includes quotations and or paraphrases from sources, facts like statistics or findings from studies conducted, and narratives or descriptions of experiences. So before you make your body or your sentences as support to your thesis statement, you should make it strong, because support is for making your text strong and reliable. So how will you make it if your evidences are not that strong? If they are weak, if these are weak, then you will not be able to support properly and effectively your introduction. So how will you make it strong? To cite different sources, reliable sources, which the reader can understand and can realize that your sources are really valid. For example, it is based from the Constitution, it's based from Department of Government, or even to the well-known people, well-known pages, well-known groups, or even identity. So if the evidence is not reliable, it is unlikely that the claims will be acceptable. Like what I have said, because if your evidences are not that convincing, therefore they will not believe in what you say, in what you write, in what you have written, because they will think that it is not valid, it is not reliable, it is not worth to believe in. So evidence may be briefly referred to in the abstract, but will undoubtedly be provided in the article body. Look for tables and graphs. These will often provide data or statistics. Citations will display evidence in the form of quotations or paraphrasing from other experts. And case studies may be used as example to illustrate a more general claim. So you can also provide statistics, because it is information. It is a data where you will support your introduction. However, you should cite properly your sources. Then you can use this quotation. This evidence is represented word for word from a primary or secondary source. So we are using quotation if we will directly use the exact words from our sources. For example, you do not want to change the exact thought, the exact message, the exact wordings, then you will use quotations. But you have to cite it, and you have to include quotation marks, because it is an indication that it's really words from the sources. Then the paraphrase, when we say paraphrase, it is somehow opposite of the quotation. You you don't copy all the words, the exact words from the sources, but you will, after reading it, you will comprehend it. After comprehending it, you will make your own sentence, you will make your own composition out of what you have read. But the message should be uniform. The message should be related to what you have understood, to what you have read, because it is like a translation, but it is called paraphrase. So fact, this evidence comes from a credible source. So when you say fact, no matter where you go, it will remain a fact. So it is not an opinion. An opinion might be true to some, but not to all. But fact, when you say fact, meaning it is true to someone and to all. So summary, you need to summarize a piece of evidence by restating it in a shorter form using your own words. So for example, your fact is very long. It's about a particular law or constitution. You don't have to include all because it is quite long. What you need to do is to have a summary where important thoughts, but the general message should be always present. So study the given paragraphs. What reasons or pieces of evidences are used by the author to support the main idea? Stress can be a serious illness, especially in uncertain times. According to some professionals, corollary to this idea, stress levels affect people differently that may lead to anxiety and depression. Stress can affect all aspects of your life, including your emotions, behaviors, thinking ability, and physical health. So here in the first paragraph, we can see that it is the main idea, where stress can be a serious illness, especially in uncertain times, according to some professionals. Then corollary to this idea, blah blah blah. So it is all about stress and how it affects someone, how it gives, or how does stress give impact to a particular person. So however, there are many ways on how a person can have a stress-free life. In these challenging times, people have done different things to cope with stress. Just like what you usually see in some vlogs, intense exercise had been the stress reliever of most of us. Others are engaged in painting, planting, watching movies, and playing a musical instrument. So the supporting information here is all about how to fight stress. In the first paragraph, it explained what is the implications, what is the impact of stress. However, in second paragraph, we can see and we can also connect that even though we have the word however, meaning it's the opposition, it is somehow related because it's all about stress also. But the first paragraph, it's the implication, the impact, the effect. However, the second paragraph will all about how to fight stress. So with a change of perspective, good habits, and mindset, taking steps to manage stress effectively would help you have a healthy living and a happy life. So that will be our conclusion, because it summarizes that if we will change our perspective, the good habits, or it's all about the exercise that we read in the second paragraph. Also the mindset or perspective, taking steps to manage stress, like engaging yourself in painting, planting, or any hobbies or activities that you will enjoy. So what is the effect of stress? Who says that stress can be a serious illness? That is the professional. So if it is according to professionals, therefore we can say that it's really true and it's really evident as we also observe it now, especially in this time of pandemic. So which among the given ways will not help you deal with the problem? Does the writer cite relevant evidence or experiences to the issue? What reasons or of proof does the author provide? Do you find the text persuasive, informative, or descriptive? Is the purpose of the author clearly stated? So we can also consider those things. So the next one will be about conclusion. This is the last paragraph of composition that sums up everything about it. It is at this point in the essay that student will inevitably begin to struggle. This is the portion of the essay that will leave the most immediate impression on the reader's mind. Therefore, it must be effective and logical. Do not introduce any information into the conclusion, rather synthesize and conclude concerning the information presented in the essay's body. So when you say conclusion, you don't have to cite or mention another new ideas, but you have to strengthen, you have to summarize every or all of the information you have mentioned in your text. Why you should make it strong? Because it is the recent part of the text being read of the readers, because it is the most fresh ideas that they have read among the parts of your essay. So you should always conclude logically, meaning they should be connected. Whatever you said in the introduction should be agreed in the conclusion. You will just sum up. For example, you will use therefore. I can truly say, therefore, as a result, in all, generally, like that. Meaning you are just summing up what you have said. So evidence. So when you say evidence, I explained it a while ago that you have to include evidence from credible sources. Because if you will cite evidences which are not credible, which are not valid, therefore, it is very weak evidence where reader will eventually realize that your whole text is also weak because you don't use any strong, credible, reliable sources. So going on to the next will be author's purpose. Author's purpose, it is the reason or intent of writing. An author's purpose may be to amuse the reader, persuade the reader, inform the reader, or satirize a condition. However, we have 4 general purposes in mind. So the first one will be to relate a story or to recount events. The author uses narrative writing. So you are just telling what happened, the situations before, or even the recent situations. You will just narrate it, tell it, like you are telling a story. Number 2, to tell what something looks like, sounds like, or feels like. The authors use descriptive writing, meaning descriptive, you are describing. You are also using the imagery. How does it look? How does it taste like? How does it smell? Like that. You will let your reader imagine using the imagery, using the words, descriptions that you will include in your text. So that is descriptive. To convince a reader to believe an idea or to take a course of action, the author uses persuasive writing, meaning you are making them believe and to do certain action. For example, your essay is all about climate change. So you have to make them believe that they should do an action, they should segregate their waste properly, like that. If you are wanting your readers to do an action after reading that, then that will fall under persuasive writing. To inform or teach the reader, the author uses expository writing. So when you say expository writing, it is used for trending matters, trending subjects. For example, how to use the latest iPhone. Then you have to make an expository writing. What is it? What are the steps? what are the features like that, because it is very new to everybody, so you have to expose information about a particular trending topic. And then a persuasive essay is a type of argumentative writing that utilizes logic and reason to show one idea is more legitimate than another. So when you say argumentative, you are proving that the text is more believable, worthy to believe in than other texts. So for example, have you ever felt tired of removing the dirt from your clothes? Worry no more, because wave powder is here to help you. There is no magic, only of good quality. With just one sachet of the powder, you can have a clean and soft clothes, as white as snow. So it is convincing. It is used for advertisement, because in advertisement, in speeches, we are also using argumentative writing because we are comparing other products from the product being introduced, because you want your reader, your viewers, your audience to simply buy your product. So like that, we have here the different advertisements. And advertisements is very obvious in television and even in different applications where commercials are really popping. So if you're experiencing chest and muscle pain, be wise and take good care of your health. Drink Liz's tea. So like that, you are promoting. So Robertson 2013, we have different ideas about our topic. So we also have the relatedness, which is all about the connection of the interest of the readers to your text, no matter what their ages are. So you have to make always your content really interesting and very related to your readers. So you should always come up with the topic which will be interesting to all. But if you have a target audience, then you have to focus with that. So as a responsible student, it is also important to determine the relevance and worth of ideas, soundness of authors' reasoning, and the presentation's effectiveness. Since you are exposed to different websites, you can find and analyze relevant information and arguments based on the evidence presented. So it's very important for us to always evaluate all of the data, all of the information that we are reading. Not all are valid, are credible. So we should always synthesize, we should always evaluate, analyze it, also the sources, before we include it in our text. Because a strong one will make a strong text, but a weak evidences will make a weak one. So reminder, you must not always believe in what you read, unless there are pieces of evidence that will prove its point. Always use pieces of evidence and facts to support your claims and presented ideas, like what I have said. So focus on both strength and weakness of the author by trying to follow the same structure used. Critical analysis unwraps the article's value and relevance. Always remain open-minded and unbiased as you analyze, read, and write your paper. So always be open to the information, especially if you are reading with a very concrete sources, then you have to change. If you think that what you think is wrong, then you have to change it. So note, a relevant idea is something that belongs or is a part of the whole. It may be a detail or sentence that supports the main idea to form a unified and coherent composition. So to check for relevance, soundness of reasoning, and effectiveness of presentation, trace and evaluate the claims and pieces of evidence that supports the claims. Identify the false statements and fallacious reasoning. You may ask the following questions. Do the paragraphs have unified sentences? Does the writer give appropriate connected evidences? Does the writer commit overgeneralization in the text? Is the writer biased? Are there fallacies mentioned in the text? Is the purpose of the author achieved? So you will always see the connection of the ideas. If they are connected, then we can also say that the author is effective in writing. If there is cohesion, if there is consideration of different ideas, but he or she, the author, focused on what he said in the introduction, body, and conclusion, they are unified and used concrete, strong evidences, valid sources. Therefore, it is really a good text. So we will proceed to the activities. So arrange me. We have jumbled letters here. You will rearrange them, and after rearranging them, you will have your answer. And we have clue in each number. So it pertains to the author's reason for writing the paragraph. Rearrange it and write it on a separate sheet of paper. Analyze the given statements, put a check mark. If it's true, then cross mark if it is false. So based on what we have discussed, you will analyze each statement, each sentence, if it's true or not, by putting check mark and a cross mark. So independent activity 2, we have our word pool here. A, B, C, D, E, F. So you will identify what is being described in each number. Is it descriptive, persuasive, and so on. So independent assessment 2, identify the soundness of author's reasoning. Write your answers on a separate sheet of paper. So what are your thoughts about what you have read here? What you have understood based on the author's reason why he or she wrote that. Also here. So even one sentence, it could be as long as you clearly expressed what the text all about. So to number 5. So independent activity 3, search like a detective. Fill in the speech bubble with the evidence on the text presented. Evidence includes statistics, census data, interviews, quotes, polls, expert opinions, specific events, laws, artifacts, research studies, case studies, and examples. So this will be your source. So how will you paraphrase that to make it as your evidence in your own text? So based here, in December up until here, how will you paraphrase that to make it as your own evidence? Because if you will have it, it's quite long, and if you will not paraphrase it, it might be, or you might commit plagiarism. So you have always to paraphrase or cite properly. Like that. So even one sentence it could be. So independent assessment 3, think on the illustration. Express your ideas on the illustrations below. Judge if the illustrations are relevant or irrelevant to the topic. So for example, is this illustration relevant to Filipino values? Relevant or irrelevant? This one, relevant or irrelevant? This one, irrelevant or relevant? Then why did you say that it's relevant, that it's irrelevant? Like that. So in what I have learned part, you have to complete this statement. What did you learn? Why is it important to know the author's purpose? Or how to evaluate a paragraph and judge its relevance? It is all based on what we have discussed. So we have a rubric here. Structure or focus. The ideas are organized and uses wide range of relevant ideas. And also, you have to, all of your ideas are interconnected. Also the content, if they are related to one, conclusion, body, and introduction. And grammar and style, you have also to consider the proper grammar for better understanding. So what will you do is, you have to create a persuasive text, meaning you have to convince them, you have to make them do an action, what it takes to succeed, or how to be successful. So it's all about that. So a while ago, I discussed this rubric, then you will apply everything to get a perfect score. So for assessment, you will choose A to F based on what is being described in each number. Agree or disagree. Agree if you think it's right. Disagree if you think it's wrong. Then base here, you will answer this question by choosing the correct letter. And then, last part will be the additional activity. Since have been exposed to different news and advertisement, this material educate us on what we do, but we must make a difference and desire to know its relevance in our life. Choose an advertisement, either an article or a video, then write a short essay. In the first paragraph, introduce the advertisement, your chosen advertisement. For example, it's all about a brand of a cell phone. Then you have to introduce, you have to specify the details, the features of that. Then be guided by the parts of text, introduction, body, conclusion. So how do you see that advertisement? You have to include that in introduction. Then body, supporting details. In conclusion, you will just restating what you have said in your introduction, but you have to prove it. You have to summarize everything. Like you are making it in just one paragraph to make it more clear, to make it clearer, to make it more effective. So we have the same rubric as we used a while ago. So I hope you have learned about the judging the relevance and worth of ideas. Also the elements of essay, or the parts of essay, the body, the IBC, introduction, body, conclusion. If you still have questions, you are always free to message your English teacher. So goodbye and stay safe.